right, tonight, last time, why did we end? Genesis 20, right? Genesis 20. Now, service has begun. Let me give you the Bible line. I said the whole Bible from Genesis to Revelation is one long story. It's one long story. And if you really want to understand any biblical principle, you have to master Genesis. Genesis is the beginning of every biblical principle. So if you really want to understand the principles, you need to go back to Genesis. For anything at all, any doctrine at all you want to understand, you have to master Genesis to be able to do that. So we started studying Genesis. Then from Genesis 1, we said the world was in a mess. The earth was in a mess. God came and then created beauty out of it. He called forth everything, and life started. Everything was good. Life went on. Then God created man to head everything he created. Man came into the scene. For a long time, life was beautiful. I told you Adam and Eve, they didn't fall the same day. They didn't disobey God the same day Eve came around. That's what many people think. It's not the same day. Over a long period of time, life was good. God used to visit them. Then God warned them not to eat of a particular tree, even though two trees were mentioned to us in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God asked them not to eat of only one. And the reason is God preserved that for his own reason. So as far as men, Adam and Eve decided not to eat of that tree, it means they are trusting God's definition for their life. They are trusting God's definition of what is good and what is evil. But when they will eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, from that day, they will now seize authority from God to now define for themselves what is good and what is evil. So for a long time, they followed God's definition. Then it got to a time they decided to disobey God with under the leadership of Satan. They decided to disobey God. So they seized authority now to define what is good and what is evil for themselves. So they did that. And now God said, now that you have the power to decide for yourself what is good and what is evil, you cannot be under my provision. So they have to go out of the garden. So God sacked them out of the garden. They have to live life on their own now. Man is falling. I explained to you what comes with the fall, the nature that comes with the fall. And the problem anybody will have with God will have to do with the fallen nature. Life started, they started life in the fallen state. And from Genesis chapter number 4 till Genesis chapter, even till today, every bad news you hear is as a result of the fall. It's just a play of the fall. So we see from Genesis 4, God used some stories to explain to us the intensity or the result or the effect of the fall on various things. Genesis 4, 5, 6, so many stories happen, and God saw that the wickedness of man is getting out of hand. So he decided to clear the earth again, and he used water to destroy the earth. Brothers and sisters, you have no idea what men were doing at that time. You know, men became so wicked. Men became so wicked because man naturally, you know, man can go an extent you can never imagine. Human being can go an extent you can never imagine, to the extent that man is capable of destroying himself. Man is that wicked, you see. So I'll show you several things from the scripture today's message, and how we have to respond to some of these things. So God cleared the earth, and then he preserved the family of Noah. After the flood, he blessed Noah, pronounced the blessings that he had on Adam. He pronounced that blessing upon Noah, and life began again in a very beautiful way. One day, one of the sons of Noah, sinned against the father, and the father cursed him. Curse has entered the world again. Now, the story played on and on and on and on till now human beings have taken another dimension of wickedness till it gets to the man Abraham. Then God picked Abraham, and then he said he was going to use Abraham to extend his blessing. You guys are quiet. To extend his blessing to the rest of the world. It has always been God's dream to use one man to extend his blessing to the rest of the world. When God created Adam, God was not in a hurry. He could have created many people. He could have created many human beings. He could have. But it has always been God's plan to use one man to extend his blessing to the others. And he was going to originally do that with Adam. It didn't happen. He thought Noah would do it. It wouldn't work. So God found Abraham, and God spoke to him, Genesis chapter 12, 1, 2, and 3. He gave him his promise and what he was going to do with the man Abraham. So I said, Genesis, if you want to study it in proper context, you divide it into two. Genesis 1 to 11 is one part, and Genesis 12 to 50 is the other part. So the Genesis 12 to 50 has to do with the life of Abraham and his family. So what we see, we started studying this man and his life. What we will see in general is how Abraham's life played in the whole story. And you will see Abraham put God's promise in danger many times, but God will have to come in and rescue. So far, we studied up to Genesis 19. Today we will take it from 19 into 20, and then we climb up. Wherever we end, we leave it there. Good. Now, Genesis 15, God made promise to Abraham in Genesis 12. Then Genesis 15, he officiated by going into covenant with him. I told you the covenant that God made with Abraham in Genesis 15 is a physical covenant. It was something that have to do with the land and his descendants. And then throughout your study of Genesis 12 to 50, you will see God kept re-echoing this same promise. God never brought in anything new. It was the same thing. He spoke to Isaac, he spoke to Jacob and all the children. It was the same thing. So it's a physical covenant he made with him. It was a covenant concerning the land that he was going to give him, and also his descendants. So we studied that Genesis 17, God came and he expounded on it. Then from Genesis 18, we start seeing Abraham's mistakes. All right, Abraham's mistakes. The first mistake he made was he went to have a child with his slave. And that's the first mistake. And you know what that mistake will cause the world. Abraham's mistake, you know what that will cause the world. Now Ishmael is in the scene, came into the scene, and from him came all the Islamic world. Now that will be a burden of Christians to win these people to Christ. If not, they will perish. You see, and that's one mistake, and Sarah was the secretary in that miracle both of them performed. But yeah, that's the first one. Other mistakes, Abraham denied the wife many times, twice. First one in Egypt, the other one to Abimelech. I think that's what we'll talk about today. So now let's get to Genesis 19. Genesis 19, that's where we ended, right? Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. I think we finished with this, right? Let's enter Genesis 20. So God gave this word. You remember Genesis 19, God came, visit the family, and then God said he was going to come back 9 months from now. And then when he will come back, by the time he will come back, Sarah will give birth to a son. So they received the word. They received the word. And then right after this, we see the story of Abraham and Abimelech. So where Abraham was, can we have somebody reading for us? We need to read some of these things so you see the details. Can we have somebody read for us? Genesis 20.
All right.
Genesis 20 from the King James Version. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, she is my sister? And she, even herself, said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of mine hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Therefore Abimelech rose up.
Let me build something here. So Abraham moved again. You know, the problem of movement. And this king, Abimelech, saw Sarah. People, how old is Sarah at this time? Who has an idea? How old is Sarah at this time? Who has an idea? Okay, you can cut a range. Who can give a range? Don't say 0 to 100. Cut a good range.
88 to 90 years.
Okay, any other person with an idea? How old is Sarah at this time?
89 to 90.
Yeah, around 90.
Around 90, right? Yes, you are right. You are right. Sarah is around 90 years at this time. And look, kings desire Sarah at 90. Kings desire Sarah at 90. A king took Sarah for wife at age 90. You are just 23. You are already worried. At age 90, 21, you are already looking like your grandmother. 21. You see, when you read the scriptures, these things are not recorded so the Bible can have a good volume, you know. They are recorded for a reason. If you are a lady and you see this, what should come to you? How do you see such a message? How do you see such a message? You see, at age 90, well, you know, you read Bible commentaries. Some scholars said Abimelech didn't really need Sarah for wife. He took her because he wanted to build an alliance, economic. You know, Abraham was great, was really rich, right? So he just wanted to form an alliance with Abraham, and by marrying the sister. So he was just going to marry her and just keep her in the house, and so she can have that, so the king can have that. alliance with Abraham? Well, read what God said. Read what God said. That God said he prevents him from touching Sarah. That means if God were not to prevent him, he would have touched Sarah. So it wouldn't be for an economic alliance. Then other group of people also believe that I need to be telling you these things so you don't go and believe the wrong thing. Other group of people also believe that when God visited Sarah, Genesis 19, immediately the skin of Sarah just became fresh and young. Could that be true? So the focus is on the skin. Sarah just became young. God is not in that business. And look at what Sarah said after she gave birth to Isaac. She didn't say God has made me fresh again. He said God has made me laugh. And all those who hear this will laugh with me. That means, she giving birth is funny. At that age. So please just follow what the Bible is saying. Don't go and give any outside interpretation to it. Sarah was first desired by Pharaoh when Sarah was 65. When Sarah was 65. And Pharaoh desired 65. You can imagine. Look, ladies, let hope come to you. Have hope. All right? Restore your hope. In case you are here, you are wondering, and nobody is proposing to me, even the one I want doesn't want me, and the one I want also want another person. Stop those complaints. Stop those complaints. Start saying, kings desire me. Start saying that one. It's the one that works. Complaints destroy your beauty. The more you complain, you realize that your hair will start uprooting. It will first start cutting. You apply cream, it cuts. You apply cream, it cuts. So very soon you realize that one side is not growing anymore. It's as a result of complaints. Stop complaining. Look up to your mother, Sarah. Tell yourself that kings desire me. At this age, kings desire me. Don't say a king, say kings. If you say a king, you may attribute it to one funny guy who may not even be a king. So say kings desire me at a good age. You see, last time I gave you a word of blessing. Kings are coming to your rising. That's what you should tell yourself. It's I am ready for marriage. That's what you should tell you. I'm ready for marriage. And I see kings coming. I preserve myself for kings. And now I hear the footstep of kings gravitating towards me. Kings are coming.
The kings are here.
Don't go and look at you. Yes, and kings are here, right? Kings, some of us, we are not approaching because of the way you are talking. We don't want to hear that language. Speak well. Then you see kings coming. You see, kings are coming. So that should be your confession. Kings desire me. I am ready for marriage, and kings desire me. You are there complaining. Every day you lift up your hands in prayer, you are going to tell God about marriage. So have hope. Sarah, 65. Pharaoh went for Sarah. Pharaoh went for Sarah, 65, at age 65. Now in the world, if a woman is 65, she's preparing to die. Our world has become something else. 65, she's preparing to die. Since you yourself, you have a mentality that by 65, you are preparing to go. That's why you are worrying that you have to marry early. Because in your mind, you have a cutoff point. By 40, I can't give birth again. Who told you? Are you older than Sarah? Because you see, in your mind, you have cutoff points. By 40, I can't give birth, and I am 32 now. So you are doing the calculation in your mind. Okay, let me say, the moment I marry, the same month, I have to give my first. You are doing a lot of fast calculations. Relax. Relax. When this meeting is over, in case you are like that, go and stand in front of mirror. Tell yourself, mention your own name, and tell yourself, relax. Kings are coming. All right. Bible says, God said what? A quick work shall I do. Quick work. By the time you marry, every Tuesday one. Like, let's talk about 3 weeks. You are done. You see, God will do a quick work. Every Tuesday you give birth to one. Every Tuesday you give birth to one. Just 3 months. You are done. Quick work shall the Lord do. Quick work. You see, shall the Lord do. So just, and then let's learn something very important here. How many of you know about prayer of petition? Well, maybe many of you don't know. We have different types of prayers, and one of them is prayer of petition. Prayer of petition is the moment where you approach God in prayer with a legal case. It's a moment where you plead, P-L-E-A-D, you plead your case in prayer. And I'll teach you about this prayer, even though I decided not to be doing this, but I'll do it for this. Prayer of petition is that time where you approach God and you are not here to worship, where you take God to court. Listen very well. It's when you take God to court to plead your case. For example, before you can successfully do this, your case must be strong. You must approach God with a strong case so that you don't lose the case. And I'm going to show you 2 examples in the Bible. You go to God, for example, talk about John 3:16. The Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his son, that whosoever believe in his son should not perish, but have everlasting life. That means if I believe in Jesus Christ, I'm not supposed to see myself perishing, according to that scripture. So I have believed. As at now, I have believed in Jesus Christ with all my heart. If I see my life perishing, I can go to court. I can take God to court. Then I'll plead my case in court that, Lord, you said in your word that whosoever believes in your son should not perish. I have believed, but I see myself perishing. So you are here to plead your case. What is wrong? Do you understand? But before you do this, make sure you check your life. Make sure everything is all right. I told you it's a court issue. So don't go and lose the case. Don't go and lose the case. So now you go to God based on the scriptures. There are certain things that are happening and they are illegal. They are not supposed to happen to you because of certain things God has spoken. And it's like something is happening contrary to what God has spoken. You take those type of matters to court. It's a special type of prayer. So let me start the first one with you. Look at this, where we just read, Abimelech. Abraham came to Abimelech and said, well, this is my sister. And Sarah confirmed it. And truly, Sarah is truly the sister of Abraham. Sarah and Abraham, they came from the same father, different mothers. So they are truly, brothers, a brother and a sister. So with this information, Abimelech took Sarah for wife. Then God came. And then what God said was, it was like, Abimelech, you are as good as dead. Can you imagine? That means God is coming strongly for him. God is coming for him. And then when God speaks like this, you need to know there is no reverse to it. You are as good as dead. Then Abimelech has to plead his case. I'm telling you the prayer of petition. Abimelech has to plead his case here. He started by saying, Lord, ever since when did you start destroying the wicked with the righteous? Tell me, ever since when? Now God is already losing the case because he doesn't destroy the righteous with the evil. So God is already losing the case. Then he said, tell me, Lord. This guy came to me and he said, Sarah is my sister. And Sarah confirmed it. For which reason I took her for wife. The guy has won the case. Then the Lord came to him in the dream. He said, all right, I've heard you. But you see, he's somebody's wife, so you restore him back to him. And then he's a prophet and he will pray for you. And already the moment, look at what happened. I told you to read these things ahead because I won't be reading to you. What happened was the moment Sarah stepped into Abimelech's house, all the women in the country or city or wherever it was, they all went barren. Nobody was going to give birth again. Nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this. So God told Abimelech in a dream that, go, he's a prophet, he will pray for you. Then all the curses you brought upon yourself will be reversed. But it was not Abraham who prayed for him for the whole thing to start. Now, from here, we also know that Abraham is also a prophet. It's very important. You know that he's also a prophet. So now, Abimelech played his case with the Lord and he won. So God said, all right, you see, I understand your case. That is why I prevented you from touching her and, you just go and restore and these things. So the guy won the case. So another example of prayer of petition is where we studied the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. God said, am I going to do something that I will not talk to Abraham about it? He said, no. So he approached Abraham and he said, you know something, I'm going to Sodom to destroy that place right now. Then the same thing Abraham said. He said, when did you start destroying the righteous with the evil, with the wicked? When you start that? If you read very well, Abraham rebuked God for going to do that. You see, when you approach God with prayer of petition, it's not a time to go and say, oh Lord, thou art worthy. No, you approach with strong case. And I can show you many examples from the Bible, many examples. Many examples in the Bible. So God said, no, he won't destroy the righteous with the wicked. Immediately, Abraham had the chance to say whatever he would say, and God will agree. And I told you that was one of the mistakes of Abraham as well. He should have canceled the destruction. But he pleaded and left it. He made a request up to 10. But he should have canceled the destruction. That he made a request and left it up to 10. Unfortunately, the righteous were not up to 10. But you see, God would have still spared the city. But now that Abraham pleaded with a legal case and seems to work, whatever his request ends, God must also take the other part. There should be a legal response to Abraham's request. So if I go and I get 10, I won't destroy it. If they are not up to 10, I'll destroy it. So God went and they were not up to 10. But Abraham should have just said, Lord, if you find a righteous man in that city, would you still destroy the city anyway? That's how he was supposed to do the pleading. If you find a righteous, knowing very well that at least Lot is there. If you find a righteous in that. So, I'm telling you this, so you understand how you pray. How you pray. There are people who pray and God don't know what they are saying. Not because God doesn't understand the language. He doesn't know what they are saying. They are never specific. They are making requests. Even if you give them the whole world, their request won't be complete. So you know how to approach God. If you were talking about prayer and I'm explaining this, I'll give you more example. But yeah, this is one play of that. So if Abimelech restored Sarah, then we see something in play here, a transfer of wealth. Abimelech gave a large portion. The same thing happened to Pharaoh. Pharaoh gave a large portion of his inheritance to Abraham. The same thing happened here again. Remember, Abraham was already rich. This guy, you can read to the downwards. Sarah was compensated with a huge amount of money, with some other resources for compensation. I told you the wealth of the Gentiles are being transferred right now. Transfer is ongoing. So prepare your room to receive wealth. You see, receive wealth. Hallelujah.
Oh,
So that's another thing. Abraham denied the wife again. And if God were not to come in, that means God would just have to reject Abraham and look for another man. But thank God, God came in. So we go to Genesis 21, the birth of Isaac. Now, finally, Isaac is born. Verse 5, look at Genesis 20. I'll be pointing out verses and we'll be reading. Verse 1, now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant at age 90. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age. Abraham was 100 years. At the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised according to the word of God. Verse 5, Abraham was 100 years old. Verse 6, Sarah said, God has brought me laughter. So Isaac was laughter to Abraham, to Sarah. Sarah's definition, Isaac was a laughter. Laughter here refers to joy, all right, excitement. Not funny, not because the child is funny, no. God has brought her a joy. And everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. That means will rejoice with me. You see, will rejoice with me. And that's a remarkable statement. A remarkable statement. Sarah should have just mourned the society and said, well, God has brought me a laughter and everybody who hears this will laugh at me. It is, they will laugh at me. They will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? She's speaking a prophetic language here. Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. From verse 8, the child grew. Pay attention here. The child grew. Okay, I'm reading from the NIV, so in case it's not matching yours. The child grew and was weaned. And on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar, the Egyptian, had born to Abraham was what?
mocking.
Was mocking. Who was mocking here?
Ishmael.
Ishmael. Ishmael was mocking who?
Isaac.
Isaac. Good. And she said to Abraham, Sarah said to Abraham, pay attention here, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. Verse 11, the matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. But God said, listen to God's statement here. But God said to Abraham, do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Do. It says what? Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offsprings will be rocking. So God came in. Look, this is something between Abraham and Sarah. Sarah said, send her away. And God came in. Abraham might have been planning in his heart, oh, I'm just going to give Sarah and Ishmael, maybe the boys' quarters behind the building, but they'll still be in the yard. He might have been planning something like that. And God came in and he said, look, don't worry about it. Do as Sarah said. So what is God saying? Send them away. Send them away. God said, listen, women, somebody will say, look at it here. Even God told, Abraham to listen to Sarah in everything. So what does this have to do with submission? No, understand the context. All right? Understand the context. Sarah was a spiritual woman. Now, let me help you. Let me help you catch this. Go to Galatians. Go to the book of Galatians. Quick. Hurry up so it doesn't take much of our time. Go to the book of Galatians. Chapter number 4. It's a long this thing, but let me see if I can cut some places. Let's look at it from verse 20. Okay, go to verse 21. Verse 21. Tell me, you who wants to be under the law. Now, Paul is making an argument here. Then he is going to use the story of Sarah and Hagar to justify his conclusion. So he said, tell me, who want to be under the law? Are you not aware of what the law says? For it is written that Abraham had 2 sons, but Abraham had more than 2 children. Do you know? After Sarah died, Abraham married again and gave birth to 5 children. So he has more than. But you see, in God's perspective, they are only 2. Abraham had 2 sons. One by the slave woman and the other by the free woman. Sarah became free woman because she was legally married to Abraham. So if you are not married and you give birth, you are not a free woman. Verse 23. His son by the slave was born according to the flesh, but his son by the free woman was born as a result of a divine promise. These things are being taken figurative. So the birth of Isaac and the birth of Ishmael, they are figurative. That means there is something we can study from it, right? The women represent 2 covenants. One covenant is from Mount Sinai and bear children who are to be slaves. Listen, because I'm not going to read all, let me just tell you what Paul is trying to say. That means all the people who were under the law in the Old Testament, they were slaves. By the end of the day, what happened to them? They all ended under the curse of the law. They were all cursed because they disobeyed the law, and the curse from the law came upon them. So now Paul is telling them that who wants to be under this law? Those who were under the law of Sinai, they ended up being slaves. It's not talking about slaves, physical slaves. They were people who were never going to be blessed. They were never going to receive salvation. And they were going to be under the curse of the law. They will end up being cursed people. So now let's read the argument on. This is Hagar, 25. Now Hagar stands for Mount Sinai in Arabia. So he described this. So now he's going to use 2 mountains as a figurative as well. Mount Sinai and Jerusalem. Now let's jump to verse 20. Let's jump to go to verse 30. Okay, let's take it from verse 29. At that time, the son born according to the flesh represents the son born by the power. Am I reading the right thing? 29. At that time, the son born according to the flesh persecuted the son born by the power of the Spirit. It is the same now. But what does Scripture say? Get rid. Look at the quoting there, right? Get rid of the slave woman and her son, for the slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with the free woman's son. The same thing Sarah said, right? So Paul quoted it. Therefore, brothers and sisters, we are not children of the slave woman, but of the free woman. This has to do with a believer and an unbeliever as well. But I won't talk about this today. Let's go back to Genesis. You know, everything we are reading in Genesis, it has the same reflection in the New Testament. Everything we are reading, it has direct reflection in the New Testament. So if you really want to understand it, I want you to understand the Old Testament first. Then I'll take you to the New Testament. You just, look, your whole eyes will just open to the whole gospel like this. You now understand what the gospel is all about. Genesis 21, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Where did we end?
Verse 12.
Okay, 21:12. So God came into the matter and said, well, send her away. So that happened, Sarah, you know. But you see, what I want you to see is Abraham was considered a man of faith. But look at Abraham's life. You can read the whole story. Still, Isaac is born, but Abraham's heart is still after Ishmael. That is why God came in agreement with Sarah. Abraham's heart is still after Ishmael, even after Isaac is born. And God told Abraham many times that it is not Ishmael. A son is coming, he wouldn't believe it. Till the son is born, still. Now, before, you know, Ishmael and the mother walk out, Abraham made a request of the Lord. They said, please, I know, you are sending them, but bless him for me. He made a request of blessing upon Ishmael. And for Abraham to agree and to do what God wanted him to do, God agreed and he said, all right, I'll bless him. Because he was connected to Abraham as well. Now God pronounced blessing upon Ishmael. Ishmael will become a great nation. That's a challenge, right? Or you are not catching the picture. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. It will be a threat
Yes, sir.
to the promised child.
Yes.
If the slave woman multiply, become great nation, that will be a threat to the promised child. But yes, God has to do it anyway because he has blessed Abraham, and anybody connected to Abraham is automatically blessed. So it happened. You know, these are just pictures. They are figures. There are some mistakes when you make them, the end result is massive. It's massive. These are things you read from scriptures like this. These are things you learn. These are things you learn. God spoke. Sarah went contrary to what God said. Now the miracle Sarah performed is now a big threat from all those generations from then till today. It's a threat to the promised child. You know, in the latter days, the Islamic State is going to rise. They are going to be the ones to persecute Christians. That is what the scripture is saying. I think we read it in Galatians. You saw it, right? He said that the son of the bondwoman persecuted the son that was born by the power of the Spirit. And we were told here that Ishmael mocked Isaac. So the challenge is here. The challenge is here. Because Abraham didn't take responsibility as a husband. And he allowed the influence of Sarah. Men's conference, I think we talk about that, right? You have to be a responsible man. Don't worry about your wives, those crocodiles, tears, crying, and those things. Don't worry about it. Be responsible. If you give instruction and she will cry, let her cry. And be responsible. If you give instruction and she will get angry, she won't talk to you, she will be wearing trousers to sleep on the bed for 1 week because you said something that she disagrees with. Say it as angry. If she likes, she can double the trouser and stand firm. And you women, I warn you, never to use your emotions, prophecies, or whatever it is to blackmail your husbands. I warn you never to do it. When she says something, you get angry. You won't talk in the house. You won't cook. And now the man is afraid. You will get upset. So you've done the wrong thing and he can't say it. Because you've used your emotions to blackmail him. Now he can't talk. He can't be the man anymore. And I told you the meaning of that. It means you have taken the authority that God has given to him as a man. You use your emotions to deceive him and to have the authority in your hands. You will be destroyed. It won't take long before Satan will destroy you. I explained these things to you in the women's conference. So never do it. Never do it. The part 2, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. Characters. Every little thing, you get upset. You're angry. You won't even listen. Some women go to the extent of packing out of the house. She will go 1 week. The husband wouldn't see him, wouldn't hear from, put off the phone. Then after 1 week or whenever she like, then she will show up in the house again. You won't enter my house. Me, you won't enter my house. If you pack out, that will be the end. And guys, I told you how to handle those things. You remember it? That one is a code. We won't have it here. Be responsible in your houses as a man. And women, take your place as a woman. This is one of them. If we start studying the house of Isaac, another wahala is there. The same thing, husband not being responsible and wife taking authority is what destroyed Isaac. God's promise almost got destroyed in the hands of Isaac. It affected his children the same way, but it started from their father, Abraham. So take those things seriously. And women's conference, maybe Thursday, this coming week, Thursday, we will have the second one. All right, let's continue. So the rest has to do with the treaty this guy made. Let's go to verse chapter 22. Now, Isaac is in the scene. Ishmael and those guys sacked away. And God tested Abraham. Today, I didn't mark the verses I wanted to point out to you. You know, from here, there are a lot of details you have to see. If we want to read it, I'm thinking it will take so much time. All right, God tests Abraham here. I think you are acquainted with the story, right? God came to Abraham and said, sacrifice your only son to me. And God set the test in such a way that Abraham would have been discouraged many times. But one thing you have to see from here is where God asked him to do the sacrifice was 3 days, almost 4 days journey on a donkey or camel or whatever it is. They have to travel 3 days. It was enough to discourage him. So God does use timing to test people. Patience to test people. So he walked 3 days journey and he saw the place afar off. He asked the servants to stay here. He is going to sacrifice, and he went and wanted to sacrifice Isaac. I want you to also see something that, Isaac wasn't, throwing hand, leave me. Why do you want to do this? Isaac wasn't complaining. He faithfully followed the father. He asked the father, where is the lamb? The father said, well, the Lord will provide. They got there, tied the son, set him on the firewood, was about to cut. And God called out from heaven. You can read the story for yourself. God has to call Abraham twice, quickly, because he was ready to do it. Why? Because at this time, the family has already become family of faith. So Isaac had faith in what Abraham was about to do. He was not worried. He was not worried. In your houses, build a family of faith. All right? Build a family of faith. It's dependent on both of you. Both the husband and the wife. Build a faithful family. Where your children, by the time they are old, the family is now the family of faith. All right, he was tested, and that goes on. Go to Genesis 22 and verse 20. Okay, now let's read from 15. So you see something here. Now Abraham is about to, sacrifice. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, I swear by myself. Declared the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. Only son? Did you see that? Your son, only son. Did you see that? Yes. Are you catching what is happening here at all? Or I should help? I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand of the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offsprings, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. Is this not re-echo of Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3? Isn't it? It is. So I told you what God, the promise God made to Abraham in Genesis 12, verse 1, 2, and 3. Anytime God spoke to Abraham, he just re-echoed the same thing. God was not going to say anything new, the same thing. All right? On different occasions, he echoed the same thing. So you see it there again. Then Abraham returned to his servants and they came. So now verse 20. Verse 20, from verse 20, we have this genealogy of Abraham's family, all right? His father's brother, and and the purpose is for us to know the origin of Rebecca, all right? The origin of Rebecca. So if you can read it. you see it point out, it came down to the father of Rebecca. All right, the death of Genesis 23. Quick, Genesis 23, Sarah died. So she's gone. There is nothing to really learn from there. Sarah died and Abraham bought a land. And go to Genesis 24. That doesn't mean if you are reading and you get there, you also jump it. You have to read it. Now, Isaac is a big boss now. He's old. So he's going to take over the story from his father. So now, so far, did you learn a lesson from Abraham? Did you learn any lesson from Abraham? Did you see how Abraham's life played around God's promise? How many times God has to come in? These are pictures of life. It's not peculiar to Abraham. So is the life of many of us. So is the life of many of us. God is just using Abraham as an example for us to see. You see, some of us, God, with some of the things our forefathers have done, the family cut contact with God. And God, in his mercy, wanted to restore the family. He called out to many people in the family who wouldn't respond. They wouldn't respond. Now it's your turn. I'm just giving you a perfect example. Now it's your turn. God has called out to you. The question is, are you going to respond? Or you also, this meeting is too long. Must we? Or you also come today, you don't come tomorrow. You come today, you don't come tomorrow. It's the same thing. It's just ordinary life. You may decide not to come again. But you see, God's purpose, what? Now God has chosen you as Abraham. Through you, he's going to bless the rest of your family. And when we said your family, I'm not talking about just your biological family. Now you guys are God spoke to me many years back, and he was going to use me to bless my family. And which is talking about you guys and many other people who are not bloodly related to me. So when God said your family, he's not directly talking about your father and your uncles, your nephews, and your aunties. Not them alone. Not them alone. God has a definition of family. So now it's your turn. God has called you. Your father never had the opportunity to be in a meeting like this. Your father never had the opportunity to be in a teaching like this. Now God, in his own mercy, has given you the opportunity. We invited many people for this meeting. They said, they won't come. But you see, that is God's way of reaching out to the family. He is looking for one man in the family. He called some of them. They didn't respond. They wouldn't respond. They wouldn't know anything has gone wrong. They won't know. But you see, God's solution to the family has been putting in danger again. He called out to one man who didn't respond again. So the family, people will have to keep perishing and keep dying until maybe God in his mercy will reach out to another person again. Sometimes when we invite people for meetings like this and they wouldn't come, I always feel so sorry. Because you see, it is not about them. It is about even the people connected to them. When they don't respond, many will perish. Many will perish. And some of you, even in this call, only God knows how many times we have to reach out to you before you come. Only God knows. Last time somebody added me, God has to warn him in a dream. Your life shouldn't be like this, where God warned you. It shouldn't be like that. When those things were happening in Abraham's life, he never knew anything was happening alongside in the spirit. Last class, I explained to you, right? That everything that happens in the physical, there is a spiritual correspond to it. Some of you, the invitation alone, the spiritual correspond to it, you will be amazed. It's the last chance for your family. Some of you, it could be the last chance for your family. If you disobey, the family is out. Will never see God again. Some of you, your parents never show you who God is. But God, in his own mercy, he made a way that you come to know him. You may not understand this thing. Can you imagine? Ordinary WeChat invitation is the invitation of the whole family. If you reject it, the whole family is finished. So you have to pay attention. I told you some time past that a lady added me. She thought I was not born again. I followed this lady. She got me born again. She asked me to recite the prayer of salvation. I recite. I never told her I'm born again, I'm a Christian. I never told her I never told her anything. So every day she would send me messages trying to help me grow. I followed. Then one day, I invited her for a meeting. And I have a group of leaders. I was teaching. That's 2018. I was teaching. So I invited her to that group meeting. Then she was excited. I told her about the meeting and what we are learning. She was so excited. Only to realize the pastor was her soul. She couldn't believe it first. After the meeting, she was like, send me your picture again. Who preached? Like, she was asking so many questions at the same time. She was like, but you are a pastor. And I said, yes. And she was like, you are even a senior pastor. Because most of them were pastors, those I was teaching. And she was like, but why? Is it when I got you born again that you became a Christian, or what happened? Like, what happened? And then she felt so sorry for herself, the first place, and at the same time, she was excited. So I was like, you see, sometimes we have to, I told her the things you were sending me, they were not bad. They were not bad. They were messages. And I learned something from it anyway. You see, even though most of the things she was sending, they were not accurate because she was making it for babies, like somebody who just got born again, something to help with. But they were not bad. You know, as elderly people, we do take milk sometimes, right? Don't you drink milk? We do take milk sometimes, just that we don't dwell on milk. It's babies who dwell on milk. But the elderly people sometimes do take milk. So I was like, that's okay. And sometimes I also take milk. So keep sending me those messages, you know. But she felt so sorry that she didn't contact me for a long time. She just recently got into contact with me again. She felt so sorry for herself. And, you know, but all I'm trying to tell you is sometimes you see, when people come your way, be patient. Find out what could be the reason for their coming. Be patient. You know, there are people who don't accept friend requests from people they don't know. That is madness. Did you know your mother before coming? You don't know any Chinese, yet you fly from your country. You came to China, but now you block everybody you don't know. If you don't accept the person, how would you know him? You see, this is how you do, and you put your life in danger. Just a simple action, you put your whole life in danger. God only uses people to reach out to people. Now that you block everybody, God cannot use anybody to reach out to you. You send somebody friend request, they wouldn't accept. That is the last knock on their door. It could be the last knock on their door. He look at it, he wouldn't accept it. Until something bad will happen, then the family will be like, we were not expecting this. He was regular in church. It's not about being regular in church. They will say, oh God, why this? But nobody know that God tried to do something about a situation that he didn't respond. Nobody will know. Many people died. We cried, oh God, why all this? God is just watching like this. He know God did something about the situation, but just that nobody knew that he was the one who didn't respond. Be careful with your dealing with people, especially if they have something to do with your spiritual life. Be much more careful. I am not saying go and open your door for any type of human being to come in. That's not what I'm saying. You need to use wisdom. You see, you need to use wisdom. But be careful at the same time. Be careful at the same time. So it's just Abraham's life played out to us. But look at what is happening. Abraham didn't really end up very successful. He would have been much more successful than this. But repeated mistake. That was Abraham's life. Repeated mistake. Repeated mistake. For whatever reason, nobody knows. But repeated mistake. Some of you here who are looking at me like Angel Antonio, we have to pray for you. Because God reached out to you several times. You wouldn't respond. But we can see that there is something about your life. We can see that there is God's calling on your life, but you don't seem to be responding to it. We have to pray for you. And this time, finally, you made it. We don't know if you are going to complete or you may go out again. But we are hoping this time you don't go out again. You know, there are people like that. When the message gets to a point of their breakthrough, they just vanish. You don't see them anymore. The same guy is there praying for breakthrough. You know, when you do that, God just look at it and say, bundle of contradiction. So that's the story of Abraham. Just ordinary daily life. But look at how it played out. You see, so is your life. Your everyday, ordinary life is playing a story. It's playing a story. You know about destiny, right? Destiny is very strong. It's a very strong thing. Your earthly destiny has to do with your interaction with the people you meet and the things you relate with. That's your earthly destiny. Earthly destiny is not determined by God. It's determined by you. Your earthly destiny would be the total summary of all the people you came across and how you interacted with them. That is what is going to determine your earthly destiny. So you may die from this world very successful, very fulfilled. You may also die from this world regretting everything. The choice is yours. The role is yours. And it's just, that is what is going to determine, you know. But you see, God has so blessed some of us that one thing is for sure. If you come into contact with us, your life will never be the same. You will end up having a good earthly destiny. God has so blessed people like that. And I am one of them. I tell people, if you are not ready for greatness, don't come into contact with me. You will be great. Don't. But if you do, you will be great. There are people who carry the opposite. No matter how blessed you are, if you come into contact with them, you begin to lose everything. So how do I know? I get to be smart. I get to be smart. I look at people around me. How is my interaction with you going to affect my destiny? If I realize it's not going to affect me in any good way, I cut you off. Someone said, no, but God said we should all love it. No. Jesus said it's better to go to heaven with your head cut off. Just imagine you are in heaven with no head. Jesus said it's better than to take all your head and the whole body to hell. It's better. He used your eye because it's very important. He's just telling you that it doesn't matter how important the person is, as far as it is not going to help your earthly destiny. What do? Clear off. Cut the person off. So you can end up. And people, that doesn't mean you just look around, you look at your contacts, you scroll, you say, you, cut off. You scroll, you look at it, say, you, cut off. No, that's not what you do. Be careful. There are people who also came to help you. If you cut them off, you are finished. This is where there is one gift responsible for that, the gift of discernment. You know about that gift, right? To discern people that come into contact with you. It's a gift we use to discern spirits. And since man is a spirit, the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit, you know about it, right?
Yes, sir.
One of them is the gift of discernment. It's not for pastors, it's for every child of God to discern people who come into contact with you. With that gift at work in you, you just know I am with the wrong person. You just know. You don't need any other evidence. You just know. And you cast such a person off. Or you become wise, much more wise when you are dealing with those people. There are times where gift of discernment we will just know. Look, don't play with this person. You are with the right person. You are with the right person. There are people who said they prayed about their marriage and their marriage still got a big problem. They said the Holy Spirit confirmed it. They should have request for the gift of discernment. You just know. You don't need to pray. Then you know. No, the gift, when the gift is at work, you don't pray. You just know. And that discerns the very innermost nature of the person. The gift reveals it to you. The innermost nature, which would have been hidden to you. But the gift at work in you will reveal it to you. Sounds like, wow, that gift might have been very wonderful. But well, it's for you. Even as I'm talking, it's already at work in you. Somebody said, thank you, Lord. It is at work in me. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Children of God, they desire the gift so much that if you tell them it's at work in them, they are looking for it. But already, you remember your contact with that person that ended up in a disaster. You had a warning from within. You didn't take it seriously. You remember? So which gift are you then looking for? It's the same gift. You just know you are with the wrong person. And you need to take caution or you completely blot away. It's not always we blot. You have to take caution sometimes. So it's just this thing for us. Oh, I wanted to talk. Let's rush through. Go back to Genesis. Rush through them. So Genesis 24 now. Genesis 24. Abraham was very old. So that means Abraham's story is over. Now the account is closed. He can't do anything about his life anymore. He's ready to go. And the Lord had blessed him in every way. That means the guy was massively blessed. He said to his senior servants, well, let me narrate it because these are long stories. And the narration seems to remain more in your mind than the reading. So Abraham called the senior servant, the second here. He came. Abraham is very good in making oath and covenants. Right? You remember? So he said, come here. The guy came, he said, well, put your hand. Where did he say you should put it? Is it in the armpit or in between his legs or what?
Under his,
under his what?
Under Abraham's
thigh.
His what?
His thigh.
Under Abraham's thigh.
Yes, that's another way to make an oath. All right. But you see, this one is not a covenant. It's just an oath. It also has consequences if you break it. So he said, that means, look, let me explain it to you. That means what Abraham is going to do here is serious. By now, Abraham is old with many mistakes. But now by this time, he's now a man of the spirit. He has learned his lesson now. By this time, he's now a man of the spirit. So, we jump it. I wanted to show you. Hagar went to marry for Ishmael. And she married an Egyptian for Ishmael. All right?
Yes.
The marriage, listen very well, the marriage of Ishmael alone is enough to cut Ishmael off the promise of God, because he has married out of the range. So God is done with Ishmael completely. So as we read on, very soon you will never hear anything about Ishmael again. You see, I don't know what I should talk about it. Marriage is that important, especially choice of partner. There are some choice of partner. Look, there is no way you are going to produce godly children. No way. So what God has started with you will have to end with you. It wouldn't go to the next generation. It wouldn't. You just don't marry anybody. I said, but I love her. You have to design. Especially those of you who are, we call it the alphas, the beginners. God wants to use you to begin something in your family. If you marry the wrong person, what God has started with you will end with you. It won't go to the next generation. It won't. It won't. You can go and read Romans 7. No, it's rather Hebrews 7. I don't like to give scriptures like this out because you can easily misunderstand what it's trying to say there. But if I have time, one day I'll discuss that with you. It has to do with choice of partner. How an unbeliever and a believer marry, how it affects their children. There are children born into this world and they are rejected by God. The child hasn't done anything. So people, especially you that are building yourself to become a man of the spirit, a woman of the spirit, you need to discern well before you choose a partner. Don't be deceived that the guy is going to church. Forget about it. Yeah, he even speaks in tongues. Forget about it. He's a preacher. Forget about his preaching. Discern well. Discern well. So Hagar married for Ishmael, and marrying from there alone is over with Ishmael. If you remember the story of Jacob and Esau, Esau went to marry out of the Canaanites. The Bible says it was a grief to the father and the mother. His marriage was a grief throughout their stay. Esau created pain in their heart. The same thing, when the parent complained, he married another one again to show them that he's not done yet. And why did he marry? From the Canaanites that God warned they shouldn't go there. So his marriage also cut him off. His generations are going to be out of God's range. You can study this group, family of Abraham. The same thing. When the children come, one funny guy go and marry somewhere roughly. You know, he doesn't care. So this time, Abraham is going to be careful. Look, Ishmael is gone. Ishmael is gone. So this time, marriage for Isaac, he has to pass it through oath. That's why he called the guy to come and do that. Now he's old. He's not going to do it himself. And he's thinking he may go any moment from now. He don't want Isaac to make the same mistake that he made. Now, Abraham gave birth again after he married Keturah or whatever. And Abraham saw God's relationship with those children. He saw it. So now he has learned his lesson. Did we see God said anything about those children? No, he just wants to inform us that Abraham married again. That's all. That's all. The focus will only be on Isaac. Isaac shouldn't make the mistake. So this time he said, let's read it. Let's read it. Abraham was very old now, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the senior servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not listen to the context. Listen to the content of the oath, that you will not get a wife for my son, talking about Isaac, from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I am living, but will go to my country and my own relatives to get a wife for my son Isaac. This is a very smart servant. Look at what the servant said. The servant asked him, what if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from? So the servant is asking Abraham, so what if I go there, I get a wife, but the wife decided not to follow me? Can you hear me well? So there is a feedback here. Can you hear me well? If you have a very loud volume, if your volume is too loud, reduce it a bit. There is a feedback here. All right. So the servant asked Abraham, what if I go? I found the woman decided not to follow me, because Abraham is living in a foreign land. So what if the woman decided not to follow me to where you live now? Should I take your son Isaac back to your country to marry there? Because the servant understands that for the Canaanites is out. So if the woman wouldn't come, then Isaac should go back to the father's house to marry there. What is the danger of that? Genesis 12:1. Get out of your father's house. Now the servant is saying, should I take your son back to the place that God asked him to get out of? Did you get it? Abraham, if not that he is now a man of the spirit, he would have said yes. But now he has become a man of the spirit. He remembered that God asked him to get out of the place. So listen to his answer. The servant asked him, what if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from? Then listen to Abraham's reply, verse 6. Make sure that you do not take my son back there. Don't take my son back there. You see, he's now a man of the spirit. He's getting it now. He's getting it now. So the son is not, Abraham would have just followed marriage and said, oh, yeah. Take him back. You know, just make sure you carry all the sheep and these things with him. No, Abraham is now seeing beyond marriage here, even though the marriage is very important. You see, you might have loved the guy, which is very important. You might have loved the lady, which is very important. But you see, the love should be measured against your destiny. You can't marry somebody who doesn't believe in your ministry. You can't. How are you guys going to live? She come and start her own ministry in the house, and you also have your own ministry. You can't. So there are certain things, it's just a red flag. So a man of the spirit now, he said, don't do it. Abraham said, the Lord, the God of heaven and all those spirits will help you. So you get this thing for, okay, let me read verse 7. The Lord said, the God of heaven, the Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me out of my father's household. You see, he's re-echoing it. And my native land, and who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, to your offspring I will give this land. He will send his angel before you so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to come back with you, then you will be released from this oath of mine. That means if the woman is not going to come, you leave it. Let Isaac forget about marriage. Can you see the latter days of Abraham's life?
Yes,
He said, now, if the woman is unwilling to come, let Isaac forget about marriage. But for Isaac going back to that land, he should rather forget about marriage. Now, Abraham has learned the lesson. He's not going to allow Isaac to marry by himself. He has to help. He has to help. Isaac is not a kid here.
around 40
I
years.
think I was trying to make something. He's almost 40 years here.
Yes, sir. It's 40 years.
He's not a kid. But a father is not going to allow him to marry by himself. Why? Because of the destiny of the family. It's not about Isaac. Is it really about Abraham? No, he's almost going. He's almost dying. So he told the servant, if the woman is not willing to come, you let Isaac forget about marriage. Some of you, if somebody tell you right now, forget about marriage, you rather call down tender to kill the person.
Scatter by fire.
You call down fire from heaven to come against that prophecy. Say, I stand against every prophecy. Why? Because they said you shouldn't marry. No. You see, what are you learning from this class? So you can make the right choice. Don't so look at one side that you forget about the other side. Don't. Your marriage has to do with your destiny. You see, your destiny is there, and it is the most important thing. You know, Paul looked at his destiny and he was like, it's rather I don't marry, it's better. I know this generation, many people can say it. He would rather marry and destroy the destiny than to forsake marriage and fulfill the destiny. There are many people like that. They would rather marry and die. Don't make, those are the people we call, let's read. That God paints that picture in Esau for us, so you will see it. So that happened, and then you know the story. The servant went, finally God truly intervened, and they got this girl. Rebecca came into the scene, and when they saw each other, they were excited. There was a first sight chemistry. You see, those of us who study chemistry, we know much about this. There was a first sight chemistry between the two guys. And marriage began by then. Sarah is dead. And, Isaac is still feeling the pain. But no way. Now, Rebecca is here. Rebecca will do the magic. You get it? So Rebecca came and restored mother's love. You know about that, right? Restored it. Well, those of you who are not doing medicine, you don't study chemistry, you don't understand these things. It's for the mature. It's wisdom. You see, Paul said we speak wisdom among them that are mature. Now look at Genesis 25. Abraham is dead. Abraham is gone now. So Abraham is out of the story. But he left a successful life behind. At least he was able to pass on the promise of God successfully to Isaac. The man is married to a godly woman as well. So Abraham will die now in hope. You remember God made him that promise in Genesis 17, when they made the oath. He said, for you go to your fathers in good old age. So he's gone now, and Isaac will have to take the show. Now, go to Genesis 25. We start from verse 19. Till now, it talks about Ishmael, the descendants of Ishmael. so that when you see it anywhere, you know these are descendants of Ishmael in play. We won't talk about that. You jump to 19. So now, Isaac married to Rebekah, the custodians of the promise, is now their turn. So you see how God called Abraham and then dealt with him. Abraham shook God's promise many times, but yes, God was faithful. You see, God is faithful. So now we come to this guy. We come to Isaac, and then let's see how the story of Isaac play out. Let's see what Isaac is going to do. Verse 19. This is the account of the family line of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. Is here, right? When he married Rebekah, Isaac prayed. Verse 21, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of an old man in the village. Is that what you have in your Bible?
No.
He went to see an old man in the village. Is that what she did?
No.
She went to inquire of one old woman who has a good experience in childbirth, a midwife. Is that what she did? She went to see a midwife. She went to see a native doctor to inquire of the destiny of the child. Is that what she did? So she went to see a malam nearby. Is that what she did? So Rebekah started attending prayer services. Is that what she did? I know a man. Every Wednesday, the wife will say, "I'm going to Wednesday prayer camp or Wednesday prayer something. Every Wednesday, the woman is going for prayer. Wednesday. And when she will go, this church, they will have to, you as a pregnant woman, they have pregnant women section. So they have a small bathhouse in the temple where these pregnant women go naked, and the woman will shower, will wash the tummy with whatever it is, as some anointing oil and some whatever. So she will shower these pregnant women one by one. And this man's wife, when she was pregnant, she started going there to go and to shower the baby or the stomach. I don't know what exactly the purpose was for. And it went on and on and on and on. She gave birth to the first son, gave birth to the second son, all attending that church. So I went to him and I said, "You shouldn't." This is even before I came to China. I was like, "You shouldn't. This is not right. This is not right." But yeah, the woman will come back every day with some prophecies of, a whole lot. By the end of the day, time, everything is left for time to justify. Time went on, things went on, and then life was nice. But the end result was the lady did something that was against some of the rules they gave them when they shower your baby. There are things you don't do. She did one of them, which she was not supposed to do, and she has to die. So she died at age 24, leaving 2 sons behind, you see. So that's why I was asking you that Rebekah went started going to a prayer service that she was not attending before. You are a husband. Your wife will tell you she just found a friend who is taking her to some prophet. Be careful. Don't never allow your husband or your wife attend any other church that both of you don't attend. She can go there for visits, she can go for weddings, she can escort somebody to funeral or whatever there, but attend, no. And both of you should attend the same church. You leave your church, your wife is in Olumba, you yourself, you are in Mejokuku, something municipal church. You yourself, you are there. Now she'll come back every day with some false prophecies. Your life, you don't even know what is happening. And you are wondering. You're wondering.
You're cooking traditional church.
You should go to the same church. It's very important.
Yes, sir.
And so, what if we marry and my husband decided, you know, I should come and join his church and I don't like his church? And look, if you don't like his church, don't marry him in the first place. If both of you don't have agreement in the same church, don't marry. So, but everybody can worship from anywhere. If you can marry from anywhere, just marry from where you worship. Don't come and now disturb anybody with it. Marry from where you worship. And I marry from where I worship. So the story just, balance out. Don't now cross your place and now start disturbing anybody. There should be that spiritual mutual agreement between the two of you. Now after you marry, now you start fighting over church. I know a woman who decided not to go to any church anymore because she's not willing to go to the husband's church. The husband said, you must also attend my church. So she now decided, then I won't go to any of them. So, case closed. I'll just not go to any of them. I won't come to yours. Now that you said I should go to mine, and just leave it. So Rebecca went to inquire of a man she heard of that she has eyes, spiritual eyes. Is that what she did? She inquired of the Lord. That means you, as a wife, you must have a good relationship with the Lord. It's very important. And Rebecca complained to Isaac. Is that what she did? She went to inquire of the Lord. Now, let's see what happened. We have 6 more minutes. So finally, these 2 children, the Lord said, you have 2 sons in your womb. Is that what the Lord said? Okay, let's read it. Verse 23, the Lord said to her, there are 2 children in your womb. Is that what the Lord said? The Lord said, you are carrying 2 boys. Is that what he said? The Lord said one is, they are actually twins. That's why they are fighting for space. The womb is small and they are 2. Is that what the Lord said? The Lord said he has what? 2 nations. And then when you hear the Lord said to you, nations, don't come home and say they are boys. Listen to the word used. They are nations. God is not talking about whether they are boy and a girl or 2 boys. They were born. One was fair, hairy, the other one was smooth. God never talked about any of those. He said there are 2 nations in your womb. And 2 people from within you will be separated. And 1 people will be stronger than the other. And the older will serve the younger. Listen to what God is saying here. Oh, guys, can you borrow me 10 more minutes? So we close 10 minutes from the normal time because I have to say certain things here. I can feel it strongly. I have to say it. So listen to what God said. Keep it in mind. All right. Verse 24. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twins, boys in her womb. The first to come was red, fair. And his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. He was hairy. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. 27, the boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of open country, while Jacob was content in, to stay in the house. 28, Isaac, who had a estate for a wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Listen. The woman did something very, very important. She went to inquire of the Lord that this is what I'm experiencing. What is the meaning of it? Wonderful job, Rebekah. Then the Lord spoke to her in verse 23 that this is what is you are carrying, and this is. When she came back, she didn't tell the husband. She kept the information to herself. Listen well, something big is playing here as well. She didn't tell the husband. So they gave birth to the children, and the father loved the elderly one, and the mother loved the younger one. That is the first downfall of Isaac, family division. So Isaac has started, his own way of putting a threat to God's promise in his life. So family division. Now, one love, the father loved one. So there was this politics. There was this favoritism in the house. Since Esau was a hunter, he has to go to the field. And the Bible said Isaac loved Esau because he was a hunter. Every day you come home with some bush meat. So, and Isaac loved bush meat. So for that reason, he loved the other one. And this one, the mom loved him. And the mom is always in the house. So he was like, something, start a small business in the house. I don't want you to go far away from me. You know how mommy's children are, right? I don't want you to go far away from me. So start a little business. And you know what we are going to do? When your brother will come back with the animal that is not very dead, we will take it, we will rear it, we will nourish it and multiply it. So that guy kills, and this one nourishes. This one reproduces. So he started a house business. And because Jacob has always been with mommy, he really learned how to cook. He learned it from mommy. So he has a stylish way of cooking a stew. The guy was good. And anytime the brother will come back hungry, he will feed the brother. Then one day, the brother went out to the field, came back very hungry, and he requested, "Oh boy, that's you. Let me have some." Then this time, listen, maybe we should read it. Maybe we should read it so you don't miss it. Look at verse 28. Verse 28. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. Verse 30, he said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of the red stew." You see, Jacob has always come with that strange request. "Quick, let me have some. I'm very hungry." And every day the guy will give him. And you know what the guy was doing? The guy was sowing seed into his life. Pay attention. The guy was sowing seed into his life. So every day he would just come and just go like this, just a sign, and the guy will give him the stew to eat. So listen very well. So one day he came back as usual. He came and he said, "Quick, let me have my portion. I am so hungry." And then the Bible said this is why he was called Edom. the meaning of Edom is a person who, okay, let's read. Let me not go in front. Verse 31. Jacob replied, first, sell me your birthright. Strange. Something very strange. What is happening this time? Every day you just ask, Esau just asks, and he gives. But today, the guy is like, I will give you if only you sell me your birthright. Because the guy observed today, he is very hungry. You know, if he doesn't eat his stew, he wouldn't have the energy to cook. So he, you know, he sowed the seed and he was looking for the best time to strike. Same character of Satan. That's what Satan does as well. You see, so he kept sowing the seed, but he was looking for the best opportunity. Sometimes he will come back, the guy will realize that he's hungry, but not very hungry. If he talk about the birthright, he might say, hey, go away, let me cook. And he will have energy to cook. But this time he observed that the guy was really hungry. And if he decided not to eat his stew, he's not going to have the energy to cook. So now he has cornered him. Then he said, this time, before I give you, sell me your birthright. The question is, how did Jacob know about birthright? How did he know about it? Mommy told him about the birthright. So all this while he was with mommy was telling him history. How, you know, the birthright is very important. How you just automatically get blessed when you have this birthright. And Jacob was like, what? Just like that? He said, yes. The first, you know, whoever has the birthright will be blessed. Well, you know, was just a story and he went away. So this time he went for the birthright. Verse 33. No, which verse are we? Verse 32. Look, I am about to die. Esau said, what good is the birthright to me? But Jacob said, you look, if it is not good to you, you swear it to me. You know, just give it to me. You see? But Jacob said, swear to me first. So he sought an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Maybe let me give you how this story plays in our lives today. Is this peculiar to Jacob? No. No. There are people who also sold their birthright as well. They did it indirectly. There are people who made a promise, and with that promise, they gave out their birthright. There are people who made some transaction with some people, and when they did that, they exchanged birthright. Maybe that's another day's talk. Now, the guys exchanged birthright. Jacob told mommy about it. Jacob ran to mommy and said, Mom, guess what? I got the birthright now. Mommy was like, how did you get it? He said, well, I made him sell it to me and he sold it to me. Mommy was like, really? You did that? He said, yes. He said, are you sure? He said, yes. Mommy was like, all right, congratulations. What again? Mommy didn't tell daddy about what happened between the children. Another mistake. Mommy didn't tell daddy who is going to pronounce the birthright upon one of them. Mommy kept the information again. Favoritism will always destroy a family. Mommy is on Johnny's side and daddy is on some other children's side. Both same people who gave birth, they have now divided the children. Because mommy didn't like the way daddy beat little Johnny. So now mommy is now going to be Johnny's lawyer. She has decided from today, I'm going to stand against my husband to make sure Don't do that. That is why these things are recorded for us, so you learn from it. You see? So mommy destroyed the family. He kept the information, and she was just excited that at least the boy on his side is the one having the bet right now. She didn't talk about it. Jump with me to Genesis 27. One day, Isaac was old. Mommy pretend like she was sweeping the room, and packing some clothes, packing some clothes and putting the cups at their right places. Mommy pretend like she was doing this. Then Isaac was like, call me Esau. Mommy ran out, called Esau in. And then daddy said, Esau, I am old. I'm about to die. So I want you to do something for me. Go and get me the bush meat, prepare the soup as usual. Let me eat so I can bless you before I die. Mommy heard it because mommy was in the room. Mommy heard it. So mommy waited for the guy to pick his tools, gun or whatever, and went to the field. Then mommy came out and said, look, Jacob, quick, this is the day. This is the day, quick. Kill some animal. That one is going to get it from the bush. This one has it in abundance in the house. It's a killed one fast. And let's prepare this thing. Maybe let me read it for you. You see, my time is almost up, so I just want to narrate it. But some of you is sounding like a gong in your ears. Let me see a good place.
Verse 3.
Let's take it from verse 3. Now then, get up. Get your equipment, your whatever bow, and go and get me some open country and hunt some animal and give me. You see, Isaac is about to pronounce the blessing. But another problem with Isaac also is Isaac, even though he is a man of the spirit, he needed to be stirred by his senses. That's another problem with Isaac. He is a man of the spirit, but he needed to be stirred by his senses. So before he can activate the blessing and bless, he needed to eat bush meat first. Before his soul will come up. You see, that was his problem. He should have just be a man of the spirit. He should have just know. There are Christians like that. Before they can speak in tongues, they have to take it from English. Lord, we worship you. We thank you. And Lord, Father, as I was saying before, I said, bless me. And then they'll start. They have to start from English first before they can.
You start like engineering.
Someone say, yeah. The gift of speaking in tongues is real. But you see, usually I just can't start it like that. I have to first be speaking in English, then I speed up. You see, as you speed up, then you just enter into tongues. They have to be stirred by their senses first. It shouldn't be so. Be a man of the spirit. Speaking in tongues is a language. Have it. Download it. Don't be playing it online. Download it. Download it. So you can speak in tongues anytime. It's the same thing Isaac did. Isaac had to be stirred by eating bushmeat. And then, I wish we could finish this. Wow, 9. So this guy picked his things and left. And mommy said, quick, look, we are going to prepare the soup very well. Look, mommy is married to daddy. So whichever soup daddy is talking about, mommy know how to prepare it. So he was like, Jacob, don't worry about the taste of the soup. That one, don't worry. I'll handle it. I'm a master in that. So he said, but what about the meat? He said, we have the meat in the house, so we are set. But I want you to look at something. And look at verse 10. Look at verse 10. No. I want to see where. Verse 5. Just look at verse 5. Now, Rebekah was listening to Isaac, spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt the game and to bring to his father, Rebekah said to his son Jacob, he said, look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat so that I may give his blessing and his presence of the Lord before I die. Verse 8, now, my son, listen carefully. You see, they have to be strategic. So he was like, listen carefully. They are going to play a strategy here. And do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me Rebecca, the master of the soup. Bring me.
The chef of the house.
Bring me two choice young goats. So they are going to use the female goat and the male one. If he preferred the male one, the smell is there. If he preferred the female one, no doubt, he has it inside. So he said, you bring me two. We are getting this thing today. We are getting this blessing today. So bring one, the male one that smells, and then you leave the other one. Bring one female who doesn't really have smell. You combine it, you prepare the soup, we are going to get a result. Now follow. So I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he like it. So mommy know the way he like it. Mommy know it. Verse 10. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he died. Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, listen to what the son is going to say. But my mother, he said, but my brother Esau is hairy man, while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me and I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing? So the guy was like, what about if he touches me? Verse 13, his mother said to him, my son, let the curse fall on me. So the mommy is ready to bear the price. He said, look, if you go and there's a problem, let that curse on me. Let it come on me. Me as your mother, I'll pay the price. This is risky. And this is what some women, you see, I don't want to talk about the interpretation of these things, the lessons from these things. It will keep us longer. This is what some women did, and curse came upon them. This is how they put themselves in curse. But you see, this time Rebecca is ready to take the risk. But many women did this, and curse came upon them. Rebecca is going to do the same. He was like, don't worry, I'll bear the price. However, if curse will come upon you instead of a blessing, don't worry, I'll pay the price. Let it come upon me instead of you. All right, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, which verse are we?
14.
14.
Okay, verse 14. So he went and got them and brought him to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food, just like the way the father liked it. Then Rebecca took the best clothes of Esau, her old son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. Look at what they are doing here. Mommy is aware that this guy has a smell, because since he's a hunter, he has this animal smell on his body. You see? So the guy was like, well, what we have to do is, when you go, the first thing that you will look for is he will smell you, because they know this guy has some smell. We are not talking about these days where we have deodorants and spray, perfume, and those things to handle smells. That guy was really, he's just like some he-goats. So he now took the clothes, one of the clothes that this guy has, and put it on the son. So the cloth is going to tackle the smell issue. You see, before you have to plan well. So this cloth will tackle the smell issue. Then the guy said, well, I'm smooth, but my brother is hairy. He said, don't worry, you cover yourself with some animal skin. So the same animal they killed, they used the skin to cover the body, and they went there. He gave the food, Daddy ate. You can read the whole story for yourself. Daddy truly examined the son to make sure he was giving the blessing to the right person. But you see, what I want you to know is legally, the blessing is not for Esau. He legally sold it out. How did he do it? It was just a talk. You know, people don't believe if you talk negatively, it destroys you. People don't believe it. They just talk. Jacob just said, it's all right, from today you are the elderly one. That's what he said. And he thought just by saying that nothing really happened. Nobody was there, but God was there. God was there. He just said it, just words. Just words. He said, from today you are the elderly one. It's all right. I'm hungry. You just give me food. If you want to be the, when he said you are the elderly one, did Jacob just begin to have hair on his body, and then his face just changed and he started looking like the elderly one? Did he do that? Did that happen? When they did it, when they exchanged words, immediately Jacob grew gray hair. Is that what happened? To show that he's now the elderly one. Is that what happened? Nothing happened. Everything else remained the same. You see, your character, your attitude today is preparing you a price in the future. Everything else will remain the same, as though nothing happened. Your the talkings you are doing, they are preparing a cloud for you in the future. Bible says when the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. So the day come, this guy went for the blessing. The father wouldn't know, because the guy is legally coming for his blessing. It is for him. If the father were to know that he was Jacob and he cursed him, it will still not work, because he is coming legally. Finally, everything played out to be all right, except Jacob's voice. You see, technology was not, hasn't advanced in those days, so they couldn't do anything to the voice. And they even forgot about the voice. Then finally, the father declared, everything else proved that you are Esau, but your voice. Then he said, well, this is Esau with Jacob's voice. That was the conclusion he made. Then he began to bless the son. He began to bless the son. In the blessing his son, he still added favoritism to the blessing. You see, it's not enough just to be a man of the spirit. This is a man of the... I don't want us to read it. You go and read it. He thought he was blessing Jacob. Sorry, he thought he was blessing Esau. So he intentionally put Jacob under him. He thought he was doing that. So he blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed. And he said, well, your daughters, your mother's children, the siblings will serve you. And he thought he was doing that and putting Jacob under Esau, only to realize that it wasn't so. He turned the other way around. I'm not preaching. I would have tell you the details of the blessing. And one of them is what I sent some of you within this week, that I bless you with corn and wine. That is what he did. That's one of the words. Say, I sustain you with corn and wine. He wasn't saying, look, open that gate that I lock. There are plenty of corns inside. That's not what he's saying. And then go down to the palm tree farm. There are plenty of wine there. I sustain you with it. No. It's a spiritual language. Corn means abundance of prosperity. And he sustained the son. He blessed the son. So we will end it here for today. This is how far Jacob has come. Isaac has come. Very soon Isaac will die. Then Jacob will take over the story. So can you see how God's blessing is these guys are just playing with it, right? I told you it's not peculiar to them. As a Christian, God's blessing is in your life as well. Things you are doing are playing with it. You are playing with God's blessing in your life. And if you are not careful, you will destroy God's blessing in your life. So you have to be careful your decisions. So we are studying this to see how they did it. It's not peculiar to them. Your life is playing the same story. We are reading about them. One day, when we get to heaven, we are going to read about you. We are going to read about you. You see, how the same thing. Sometimes look, you can trace, look at your family. Sometimes look at your family. You will see there is a hole, there is a pit in which everybody fell. When they get there, they fall into it. They get there, they fall into it. You will see a routine life in the family, a routine life. You see, God wants to help you so you don't fall into the same pit. You have to help, else you fall into it as well. You have to help. You have to cooperate with God. You have to cooperate with God. And watch your decisions very well. Else, look, don't be ignorant of your earthly family. Always look back in that family. Does the family know God? If yes, praise God. And if they know God, what is the similar? Every family, you will notice a similar mistake. That happened to almost everybody in the family. If you get to know it, you prepare for it. So you make sure you don't get there. I know of some families, marriage. The women don't marry. They go at most 3 years. They will divorce and come back home. And you are from that family. You are quiet, as though nothing is happening. You wouldn't prepare. So you were invited for women's conference. You won't go. God was just going to give you a word that will save you from falling into the same pit. But why? You won't go. You are like, You won't go. Then you marry and you have problem with your marriage. You'll be like, oh God, I don't know why. Oh God. So when you do that, God is just looking and he said, look, you are the cause of your own trouble. So you see, I'm just trying to let you know that everything that is happening has a bigger implication behind it. So you watch your decisions well. Sometimes you have to reject certain things in order to stay in God's track. You have to watch well. You have to watch well. Else, just one mistake will destroy everything God planned for your life, will come to an end. God has to reject you and begin to look for another man in the family. You know the story of Saul, right? Just one mistake he made. The kingdom left him. Did you notice God never talked about Abraham married Hagar, Abraham married so many children, so many wives, God never talked about these people. There are important things that God focused on. Unfortunately, we tend to focus on the unnecessary things. There are few things that are God's focus. God's focus, very few things. Praise the Lord. Thank you so much for your time. There is still a lot to share from God's word. I wish, remind me, one day I'll borrow the first 30 minutes to share. I'll preach this part of the scripture to you, Genesis 27. The preaching is different from what I'm doing. I'm just narrating it to you. I'll tell you the implication of today. The two nations, God talked about the two nations, how they are going to pray. It's in play today. We have it. It's in play today. But I started from these guys. You see. Any question? I'll give opportunity for 2 questions. Any